Promotion is by far the biggest P in terms of all the different things that we need to learn about. And promotion is really what people think about when they think of marketing, because the promotional process is the process of communicating with potential customers. So don't make that mistake where you just go in the exam and go, all right, P3 promotion, what does that mean? It means selling. It doesn't really mean selling. It's about communicating. Now, there are different techniques that are used to promote a product, and we're going to call those the elements of the promotional mix. Because that's what we have to call them. There are also different techniques used to spread information about a product, and that's going to be called the process of communication. So that's things like word of mouth marketing, things like that. So we're going to start with promotional focus one, which is elements of the promotional mix, starting with advertising, which is what most people think about. Advertising includes paid messages in media, but you need to use different media for different purposes and for different target markets. The advantages of advertising are fairly obvious. You're going to reach a pretty wide audience, and you are able to use different media for different target markets. So you might want to use radio for one target market, TV for another. But the disadvantage is that it's pretty risky. There are so many ads that it's hard to stand out, and ads can be very expensive. So that it does become a pretty large risk. You might have your TV ads completely ignored. People just fast forward through them or whatever, and you've spent a whole bunch of money on something that it didn't stand out enough for people to stop fast forwarding and actually see what the ad was, or you couldn't actually get your message through. So it can be pretty risky, and it can be very, very hard to stand out. Personal selling is direct two-way communication rather than one-way communication, usually done face-to-face between the seller and a potential buyer. So if you think of, you go into a store and they talk to you about, what clothes you're buying, things like that, that's personal selling. That's direct. It's, the seller and you. It's face to face. It's, it's something that does have advantages and which are pretty obvious, like personalizing the message. Like actual sales are far more likely than through advertising. Advertising is kind of a scattershot approach. You put the ad on TV and see who's going to buy. But the advantage of personal selling is you're looking right at the person, and you can choose according to what they say that they like, and help them out, help them buy a product that is going to make them the happiest. Ads can't really talk to people the same way that a salesperson can. But unfortunately, it does take skills. You need to have those, personal skills. You need to have those selling skills that it does take a long time for people to build up. It can also be very, very expensive. So per person per person that you deal with, it's going to be way more expensive than an ad, but you're also going to be more likely to sell to that person. And it can also be very, very time consuming. If you do have, like you're saying, selling cars or something like that, it can take a long time to sell one through personal selling, and you might be better off going, okay, well, we're just going to spend more money on ads and less money on actual sales staff, hoping that people will just make the decision based on the ad rather than the personal selling. Part of personal selling is building up a relationship, and it's called relationship marketing, where you try to develop long-term relationships. Why would you develop a relationship with someone you're just trying to sell something to? Well, the answer is to build loyalty. The advantage of that is that you can increase some positive word of mouth. If people feel loyal to a certain brand, they will generally rave about it to their friends and try to get them to buy it as well. You can also increase feedback for future improvement through that process. So if you start often stores now, they have loyalty cards, things like that, but they try to get feedback. They say, oh, look, would you like to give us some feedback? You come here once a week to this store. Can you tell us what we can do better? And not necessarily because they want to make you happy, but if you give them some good ideas about where they're going wrong, they might not have thought of them, and then they can actually steal your idea and make money off it. Sales promotions are fairly obvious things. They're short-term reductions, but you could use examples like discounts. But sales promotions are also things like cashback offers and 2-for-1 deals. Those are not necessarily reductions in prices. You're still going, okay, I'm just going to buy this product. But a cashback offer can actually get people to buy it because they would prefer to spend the money now, which is fine, but then get cash back later on, just get handed cash or a check or money in their account later on as a surprise. It's their own money, but they don't care, right? They see it as, oh, okay, well, I'm getting it cheaper and I'm getting money back rather than just getting it cheaper, because they don't really understand how it works. And 2-for-1 deals are really 50% off, right? But sometimes people go, oh, 50% off, that's a sale. But 2-for-1, that's fantastic because I can get two, and it's not like it's a cheap product. Like they've reduced the price of the product by 50%, so it must be a cheap product. I'm actually getting two of the expensive product for the price of one, and they seem to relate to that a lot better. Publicity and public relations aim to create a positive image for the business and increase exposure, especially for the brand, but without paying for ads. So, for example, when it comes to public relations, you might stage an activity or an event where you might sponsor something or whatever, where everything it's really just an ad. It's really just a giant ad. It might be like a cocktail party or something like that. It's an event, but it really just is one long ad, and it does cost you money, but you're not really paying for ads. It might be a lot cheaper for you to do it. So in the end, if you do, especially like publicity stunts, you might get sort of free-ish publicity. It might have cost you money to, do the stunt, but it might be, it's very expensive to get ads during the news. But if you can get on the news with your ad, and it might get repeated over and over and over again in every news break, then that's going to be great for you, especially if it's positive. But unfortunately, people are pretty cynical about these events or these stunts now, so it might actually backfire. So while there has been an increase in like public relations in a lot of businesses, the whole publicity stunt thing is starting to get a bit old. Like everything's a publicity stunt. So now, like if someone starts, doing something crazy, out in the open on the street, you just go, must be some business trying to sell something, when really they may have, be having a fit or something. Part of publicity and part of public relations is using social media. So you might want to try and create some viral sensation, which is, trying to get a YouTube video viewed 1 million times or something like that. The risks, though, are pretty serious now. You can't control social media, and if you try to control it, it's going to backfire. So if you look at TV stations that have tried using social media, if you just open a Facebook page, then you've got to remember that people can say nasty things there. And you might even, if you try to remove it, if you try to control it, they're going to go, hey, I thought you wanted to hear what we had to say. I thought, this was part of free speech and blah, 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 blah. And they'll get all upset about it. So it can actually backfire if you try to control that social media. So it can be very, very risky. Originally, it really didn't matter, because, good publicity is any publicity. But now that everyone's trying the whole social media thing and, we got a Twitter hashtag and all this sort of stuff, it can frustrate people, and people are getting a little bit cynical about it as well. The second focus of this promotion section is the process of communication. So we're going to start with opinion leaders. This is a group of early adopters, and people usually follow their advice. So if you're talking about, say, computer products, the opinion leaders will be nerds, right? They will be the people who line up straight away, and they're the people that are going to get asked at work or at school, hey, what kind of computer should I get? I'm going to ask the nerd, right? I'm not going to ask the guy on the football team or whatever. I'm just going to ask that nerdy guy because he's got all these different gadgets, and I'm just going to follow whatever the nerd says. The advantages of targeting opinion leaders is that if you can make them happy, then they are going to use their own words and their own ways of communicating to people that this product is really good. And it's going to be much more authentic because it's just going to be, oh, hey, it's just me and you now. I'm telling you, you should buy this product. And often they're trusted or they get believed just because of their position as an early adopter. Like, this person always has the latest, gadgets. Let's ask them. And their opinion is going to be, respected. Sometimes they try to buy off opinion leaders, like bloggers and people like that, and they just they give them products and they try to get them to be an opinion leader, but it can kind of backfire there as well. The other good part is that if you take care of those opinion leaders, if you like stage early screenings of a movie or something, then the early adopters are going to feel appreciated, because it's just like, hey, I love movies, and now I've been invited to an early screening of a movie. And they're going to feel like, oh, they're taking care of me. Finally, someone's taking care of me, and I'm getting something back for all my years of being a movie geek. And those people are probably going to like the movie anyway, because that's the movie that they were going to go and watch anyway. But now they got to see it earlier than everyone else, and they're going to rave about it to all their friends. The disadvantages, though, are negative opinions. They are very, very difficult to control, and if someone who's an opinion leader, if they warn people, don't watch this movie, don't buy this product, people are going to go, well, he's the nerd, I'm going to believe him or her, and it's not going to work out for you. So you need to make sure that if you are targeting opinion leaders, that you are definitely going to make at least the majority of them happy with that product, so that they're going to spread the word. Word of mouth is a little bit like using opinion leaders, but everyone's friends are opinion leaders in some way, right? People value their friends' opinions over ads on TV. They would prefer to go, okay, my friend told me I should do this, so I'm going to do it. The advantage is obviously it's cost effective. So you might, like they did in the United States, you might just give away like free Nintendo Wiis and let the word of mouth spread. Hey, this is really, really fun. Or the mums were playing it with their kids, and the mums told the mums, told the mums, told the mums, and then it just spread and spread and spread. The disadvantage, though, is that, again, this process is difficult to control. Bad word of mouth is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than good word of mouth. So those are all the different promotional strategies that the syllabus requires you to know.